Good morning all. Chris Farrelly, I'm the VP of APAC for Concentric AI. I've lived in the APAC region for 5 years, based in Malaysia myself, hence the batik. I think my Malaysian friend over there noticed, Selamat datang. One of the big challenges, I was in the UK for 15 years prior, looking at data protection, working with technologies that tried to understand our data, and tried to understand the content of data in our organization and protect it with DLP and security controls. The challenge we've had in those 15 years is data has exploded, it's got more complicated, and our ability to just understand it via content has increased false positives and made DLP pretty much not work in our organizations, email security not work, web security not work. So what we're bringing to the table here with new AI technology, which I'll explain in a bit, is to understand data with context. Put some understanding around, okay, we can find identifiers, we can find our PII, but what actually is the data? Is that PII in a resume, or is it in a credit card onboarding form? This is important information in how we protect data. The three biggest data security challenges that customers are talking to me about at the moment: you can't secure what you can't see, you can't secure what you don't understand. Data is everywhere. We used to be able to protect data by understanding regex patterns and strings of text or strings of numbers and define what that data was and protect it in that manner. Data has grown in such a volume and such a complication that we can no longer protect it with that manner. The false positives are too high. It's growing exponentially, and the legacy tools have failed because of the way data has exponentially grown and changed and complicated. Your data is out the door and so is your sanity. The frustration I hear from CISOs, from data owners, DLP owners, from support teams trying to manage quarantine data trying to exit the business is so frustrated. The false positives on should this data be blocked or should it not be blocked? Organizations are either blocking everything or they're blocking nothing. We need to bring some context to the table in terms of what data is to be able to drill down and make better decisions with our data security controls. Collaboration tools are making data too easily shared throughout organizations. So we have SharePoint, we have OneDrive. When the first thing I do with a customer is look at their duplicates and stale data. And that's often 25% of their data set. Minimizing data, getting control of your data, and protecting only what you need to protect is vital as well. The collaboration tools have made data grow exponentially as well, as you all know. And Gen AI is bringing another exfiltration element to the table, whether it modifies data, whether it's moving data outside the business. Things like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot need guardrails around them. But to put guardrails around those Gen AI tools, you must understand your data and how to protect that data. And then resource constraints. There's a lot of tools in your organization. I'm seeing a lot of streamlining to one platform tools. There's a lot of value in that. Microsoft is one of those platforms where I'm seeing a lot of benefit to customers, but we still need to fill the gaps. We still need to make sure that we understand our data. We put guardrails around the Gen AI that's coming in. We support understaffed teams. We have SaaS platforms where we have service teams that support you in how you manage and secure your data. And we cover any skill gaps. There's a lot of new technology on the table, but there's also a lot of legacy technology. The skill gaps in understanding both is vital that you work with partners that are able to help you bridge those gaps. Data security, the struggle is real. We talk about snake oil in our company, and I think it's because of technology we've had over 15 years that's overpromised and underdelivered. Things like DLP solutions trying to understand data and making decisions on data, and you're either blocking everything or blocking nothing. Discovery tools that were based on regex or patterns or strings of numbers and strings of text and high levels of false positives. The deployments, I must have done 200 deployments of discovery tools over the years, not to name them, but the accuracy we could get from the data with regex and patterns was 45%, 55% without 2 years of manual work with a customer. We now are in a position to use new AI tools like Concentric AI to understand your data quickly, with scale, and accuracy, with context, which is brand new to this market and is a game changer for how you can now understand and protect data in your organization. You've used tools that required you to do the heavy lifting. You deploy a data discovery tool of the last 15 years, you have 2 years of work to get that to a 95% threshold of accuracy so that it's usable for you, that the false positives are low, and your DLP can work with confidence based on what that data is. There are complex rules. Your DLP still has complex rules. You have regular expressions, and we have tools that sample data to try and determine what it is. An example, I worked with a bank in the UK 2 years ago who managed to reduce their DLP complex rules, complex policies, down from 70 or 80 policies down to 7 or 8 policies when they used an AI discovery, classification, governance platform to understand their data with context. They only were working off 7 or 8 policies or rules rather than the 70 to 80 complex rules of the past. So what happens with legacy approaches? They're unreliable and painful to manage. That's been our position for 20 years. We had the best technology, that was the best we had at the time. We have new AI tools that make us understand data with more context. We don't just focus on PII, we don't just focus on PHI. The importance of understanding the context of what that data truly is vital. Privacy, we can just search for identifiers, but to protect and secure our data, we must understand the context of what it is. The 3 fundamental questions we help you answer at Concentric AI. What is my data? Beyond PII, beyond PHI, beyond PCI data, where's your intellectual property? Where's your business sensitive information? Things like chemical formulas for a pharmaceutical company, source code for an engineering company, directors' board notes in any organization with Copilot and Microsoft and the ability to find data in your organization at the touch of a button without knowing what folders it is in. You must know where all of your business sensitive data is. We've moved beyond privacy and looking for PII and PCI data. We must know where our business sensitive data is and protect it accordingly, because the ability to find it is now very easy for employees. Where is it in your organization? One of the first elements of our remediation projects we do with customers is understand where your sensitive data is, your business sensitive data is, your identifier sensitive information is, and make sure it's in the right repositories to protect it effectively. You may have data you believed was in an area of SharePoint or in a certain file server that you have protected. When we scan your environment and we find that that's been duplicated 25 times and has found its way into shadow IT areas, boxes you weren't protecting like that, we can come and remediate. We can move data to the right areas based on its context, based on its sensitivity, so that you can protect it adequately. And then who has access? This is a vital element in terms of rolling out Copilot in an organization, which most of the world is now doing at mass. The ability to find data in your organization is dependent on the permissions available to that employee or that user in your organization. When we look at your data and understand it with high accuracy, above 92% accuracy out of the box, we're going to be able to tell you who has access to what data. And should they have access? What groups are they in? Have we got marketing individuals with access to legal data, with access to HR data? We can remediate that access within SharePoints, within OneDrives, and reduce your risk of rolling out these Gen AI tools that streamline business operations, but create a security issue for your teams. The industry's most intelligent AI, we say, Concentric AI. We don't analyze just content, we understand the context of data. Pop quiz, we're under a lot of time pressure here, so I won't spend too much time here, but when we talk about AI and we talk about data discovery and tools that understand data, everything in the market for 15 years has used machine learning, large language models, or some natural language processing. This is old technology. Concentric AI were founded in 2018 on the back of transformer neural networks being invented in 2017. Our ability to use natural language processing, to use LLMs, to be as accurate on scale and discover the entire document. We scan 100% of a file, understand every word in it. Semantic intelligence is the meaning of the words in a document. Our platform has semantic intelligence to understand your data and the meaning of your data so that we can protect what that data really is, not just what it contains. This is a good example of the difference between content and context. So you can all look at this document. You all know this is a CV. Our human minds are able to process, we've seen this before, we know what this looks like. This is a resume or a CV. It has PII in it. It has an email address, it has a residential address, it has a phone number. We would categorize that with our privacy tools as PII document, and we would protect it as such. But we're protecting all information the same. This is a resume. We didn't know it was a resume when we just searched that it had PII. We're able at Concentric AI to tell you what PII this contains, but it's also a resume. And here's how you should protect it. Here's the retention policies you can apply to it. Here's the repositories it should rest in, and here's the users that should have access to it. Here's maybe when you need to archive it. We can do all that, understanding exactly what this document is. That's a huge step forward from just understanding this was a PII document, treated the same as any other PII document in your organization. Our big topic area we discuss with customers, and I've had 5 great meetings yesterday in Mumbai discussing this frustration with customers of data darkness to data enlightenment. They don't have visibility. My customers don't have visibility right now on the true meaning of what their data is and then how to protect it effectively. They all have DLP solutions. Many had classification solutions, but they're not effective because they're not accurate. Using our generative AI, we are accurate in telling you what your data is with context that enables you to protect it effectively. Touching on that, DLP and data security controls were how we protected data for the last 20 years. We started at the top of this triangle. The key to protecting data is understanding what you're trying to protect and its sensitivity and its risk to your business. Discovery and categorization is essential. When we scan what structured, unstructured, cloud on-premise repositories to understand what that data is, we immediately drop that into categorizations: finance, HR, legal, operations, engineering. And then that dropped down into 3,000 subcategories of exactly what that data is. It might be a NDA in the legal team. It might be a customer onboarding document within sales. We're able to tell you the true identity of what that document is to enable you to classify and label it with accuracy using tools like Microsoft Purview or Google, whatever you use as an organization. We enact their labels with accuracy to make sure the rest of your security ecosystem now understands what that data is and can manage and treat it effectively in regards to the security it puts to it. Whether that's encrypting the data, pushing on a DRM to protect that data, archiving that data, pushing data retention policies to that data, all of the things that you're doing now, but without really understanding what that data is, the life cycle of that data. We can understand from the day data was created, every modification, every user interaction, every application interaction, and give you that visibility to understand how to protect your most sensitive data. That will feed your DLP and your security controls to put you in a much better position to reduce your false positives and protect your data more effectively. How do we work? Our natural language processing defines the problem, transformer neural networks solves the problem, and then our large language models apply the solution to meaningful text and answers. If a technology says it's AI and it's not using GPUs, it's not AI. This is old technology. If you're using new, powerful technology to really take us forward from where we've been for 15 years, you have to be using the technology of today. To give you a quick example before I finish of what happens when we discover data. You can see here at the top the high-level categories of what we put data into, and this is structured data, unstructured data. This is cloud and it's on-premise. We scan your repositories and we drop your data into these categorization buckets. The top is just the high-level ones. The bottom is a set of the finance kind of categories that we might put your data into from understanding its full context, end-to-end scanning of what that document contains. Things like wire transfer documents, expense reports, annual reports, investment term sheets, all different types of data that you may treat differently and need to protect differently, maybe even label and classify differently, so that you're protecting the data with the knowledge of truly what it is, not just the simple one PII string it may contain. This is essential for really pushing us forward in how we administer our security controls in the future and put guardrails around the Gen AI tools that are existing in organizations today. If you don't understand what you're trying to protect, how can you put the guardrails around these Gen AI tools and implement your DLP or security controls effectively? Some of our common use cases: finding PII and privacy, but also business-critical data, as I talked about earlier. Finding IP information in your organization, source codes, chemical formulas, directors' board notes. I had a bank that turned on Copilot in their organization, and their marketing team was able to find directors' pay slips within 2 weeks by asking it the right questions. Making sure we understand where your sensitive data is and the access permissions around that data are clean is vital with the new world we're moving into. Satisfying compliance regulations. To us, we've had technology that does this for years. Matching identifiers to privacy solutions has been where we've been at. It's been a high false positive kind of technology area, but with a lot of work, we can get to a place of high fidelity. At this point, out of the box in 3 weeks, we can put 100 terabytes of data into the format I showed you earlier, where you truly understand your data. That's a 2-year acceleration on where we've been with technology of the past. Augment and enable DLP. Classification, accurate classification of data is the foundation to a strong security control and DLP strategy. If DLP understands what your data is, the policies and rules that it needs to implement to protect your data are very simple. If it does not understand what the data is, and it isn't classified, and it's not labeled, the variables are too high, and the false positives are too high, and the ability for DLP to protect your data is very slim. Protecting Gen AI technology rollouts, one of our largest use cases in the world at the moment, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Microsoft Copilot. You cannot protect what those technologies are doing with your data if you don't understand what your data is. What is sensitive about your data, and how do you need to put the guardrails around it? We can implement guardrails around those Gen AI tools because we have the context of what your data is. And then remediation and data minimization. Most of the organizations I've worked with in the last 12 months, 25% of their data was duplicate or stale data. Coming in and understanding that with confidence and accuracy, and then being able to make storage decisions, archiving decisions, deletion decisions, is essential for a lot of organizations, and very reflective to the acts like the DPDP Act coming in, and PDPA in Malaysia, PDPA in Singapore. These are acts that want you to get on top of your growing data footprint and make sure you're on top of stale data, duplicate data, and make your decisions accurately around those. And then from a security perspective, data flow mapping and lineage. Knowing what's happened with your data from the point of creation, we can provide alerts on abnormal activity to data. We're focused, as an organization, we focus on the data. So being able to provide alerts to that is essential. Understanding interactions with data and its full data lineage and mapping in its history puts you in a much better position to look for anomalies and abnormal activity and jump ahead of those concerns. I'm going to stop there because I know my time's up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Chris one more time. From data darkness to data enlightenment, I must say some fantastic perspectives on data security. Well, we just have quick 30 seconds. Do we have any questions from the audience? We'll just take one question. Promise it to keep it very brief. Anyone? Okay, sir, we have one. Can we please quickly pass the mic? Sir, we just have 1 minute. Over to you.
Hi, Chris. This
Hello.
is Parag from DWS.
Hi, Brian.
So the question is regarding after identifying the threats, or rather the area by AI, right? What is the next action that you perform to protect the data of organization? Like, for example, as you said, are your agent also and just creating a guardrails? They are also like archiving the data automatically, or like protecting the ACLs, access control list around them, or what kind of security you are providing?
Yes, it's a good question, and it's a question that I get asked a lot by customers. I mean, I guess where the starting point is you must understand what the sensitivity of your data is to be able to apply those controls, right? So we stop at the point of passing that information, that clarity and accuracy of information onto the next technology. So at the endpoint security, we're not an endpoint security technology, but I'm speaking to my peer from Seclure outside, who does digital rights management. they can encrypt data. Microsoft also encrypt data and put rights management around data. Depending on, the key to that is knowing what your data is to make the correct decisions, to reduce your rules and your policies that have high false positives. So you're encrypting the data you need to encrypt. That you're restricting access to the data you need to restrict access to. So we don't do that ourselves, but we partner with a lot of technologies that do. And that kind of data security control ecosystem is mature and very strong. Its weakness is we haven't had technology to input the right information to it, to augment it and give it a high fidelity rate.